Yuval, how are you
Hey,
doing?
very good yourself.
I'm doing amazing, and thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us in two sentences about your role in Cisco?
I lead the product management team as part of the enterprise networking business. I lead a product line that is all about network security. Probably, I would say the core business of Cisco today, from a switching and networking perspective, is about bringing security into the network, and that's the product I lead.
Amazing. I would ask straightforward: is there such thing as innovation in a big corporate?
Um, I don't think that two things. I think that no corporates can exist without innovation. Definitely not in the world we live in. You constantly need to change. And we talked earlier about John Chambers. I think he coined one of the terms or phrases around the ability of a corporate to really lose its market if they just miss one change in the market. And in order not to miss, you need to monitor, and then you need to innovate and invent in order to follow where the market is. If it's not a market you lead, and you kind of innovate for the market. That's the first thing. The second thing is that no one wants to in this generation, no one wants to stay still. Everybody wants to change. Everybody wants to do fast things. Customers expect us to continue to innovate for them. They don't expect us to just sit and give them what we gave them 10 years ago. We have to continue to innovate in order to make sure we are relevant for our customers.
Amazing. Would you recommend a young professional, someone who just finished university, that is interested in entrepreneurship and innovation itself? Do you think a big corporate could be a good place for him or her to evolve?
Definitely. I think that one of the benefits that large corporations provide is the ability to see a much wider picture. And I think that if I look at myself when I was young, um, I'm not sure I knew exactly what I want to do. And a corporate provides you kind of an area where you can try something for a couple of years and then maybe move to another position if it doesn't suit you, assuming you're good, assuming you're passionate for what you do. And a large corporation will allow you to kind of scan the entire range of things. I'm involved in what's called JRP, job rotation program within Cisco, which is exactly about this. You join as a fresh off the boat MBA graduate, and you start 1 year with one team, and then you do another year with another team, and a third year with another team, and then you get to choose where you want to go back to. Do you want to stay with the last team? Do you want to go back to one of the other teams? And assuming you're good, and assuming they want to hire you, you're giving the opportunity. And that's exactly something that you could do in a corporate that you will not be able to do in a startup. A startup is something completely different. Probably your role is going to be very wide because everybody needs to kind of lean in and do everything, but it is still going to be very much around a specific technology and usually around a specific role.
So, for someone who is part of a company, not even huge one, but a company as an employee, what would be the main tips or the main, I would say, the state of mind that you think that by following them, he or she would be able to advance quickly and effectively to their
Okay.
goal?
Um, I would say that the first thing that people need to kind of hone in on and focus on is finding their happy place. If you find your happy place, you'll find where you can generate passion from. And I think that passion for everything that you do is critical to make sure that you'll be successful. Um, if you find your happy place, if you find what you want to do, um, it'll gonna it is going to generate enough energy for you to just run with what you have and move forward and be innovative and focus on the things that you really need to do. The second thing, it has to do with passion, but maybe not. You have to embrace and you have to be passionate for change. Back to innovation within an enterprise. Even though you're within an enterprise, you're still going to be in a place where always you'll be able to innovate. Always you'll be able to change not only the product or the technology or the service, but also how you run the business, how you do what you do. I think that I'm always embracing, even as a team leader, um, I'm always embracing a change in how we do stuff. Let's move from one, development method to another. Let's move from one way of kind of analyzing the business to another one. So we talked about passion. We talked about passion for change. And I think the main thing that in order to be successful in an enterprise, you need to master the ability to message in a way that enterprises can understand. And enterprises being usually larger. I'm not only talking about Cisco, which is a giant enterprise. I'm also talking about the smaller enterprises. You have to understand how the enterprise wants to do stuff and what's important for them. And if you're going to talk about small changes that make small impact, might not be that the enterprise is going to be interested in this. However, if you manage to convey to the organization why what you're doing and what you're trying to change is critical, why what you're doing is something that if we don't do, just as I referred to John Chambers earlier in our discussion, if we don't do, you're going to miss the mark. You're going to maybe miss the market. You're going to miss the customers you want to acquire. And if you are capable of creating the a little bit frightful situation, right? I usually, when I coach my team members around creating the messages and creating the presentations when we're supposed to present our stuff, I want them to I want the audience to cringe a little bit in their chair when we talk about the problem we're solving, because this will create a situation where people will listen to the presenter and they will say, oh my God, if I don't do something, bad things are going to happen. Let me now listen, tune into what the presenter says, and kind of find a solution. I'm a true believer in Simon Sinek's start with why method. I think that the why, the problem we're trying to solve, is really tying in together, and I've fine-tuned it to a way that I believe really works in an enterprise, not only in enterprises. I think that even when a startup pitches to VCs or something of that sort, it's critical that people on the other side would understand that there's a huge problem to solve. You might have a great product, but if it doesn't solve like a critical, huge problem, you might not be successful.
That's an amazing answer. Thank you for your point of view on that. You have a really interesting career path, and I invite anyone who want to dip in to check your LinkedIn and
Yep.
to check this out. You're now located in Silicon Valley.
Uh-huh.
How is it to be an Israeli in a big corporate?
Oh my God, that's a hard question. I think it's a process. I think that just because it's only you and me, I can be a little bit open and say that very unlike Israeliness, it's coming to be very direct, very in your face. And in the U.S., it took me time and it took me problems and hard situations I got into to understand that directness is awesome, but you need to first beat around the bush a little bit to create a situation where you could be direct. I think this is the first and foremost thing I would suggest people moving from Israel to the US to understand that their opinion is very critical. They are expected to voice their opinion. I think this is what we're known of, right? We have great opinions. We're fast to obtain an opinion. And having said that, you still need to understand how to voice these opinions. It's not about the what you're talking about. It's about the scope, and it's about the how do you position it, and make sure you don't get into trouble, which I did, telling people just what you think without making sure they understand where does it come from. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes you feel very much passive aggressive. I think there's a known story in one of the Facebook groups that we have in Silicon Valley of one of the entrepreneurs that he had an amazing employee, and this employee was supposed to provide him a report. Probably he forgot, and after a week, he sent him an email with the word report ? In the subject with no body, right? No email body, and the employee came kind of almost running into the office and said, "Oh my God, am I that underperforming that all you had to do is just send me like a report ? which is an okay thing in Israel. And he said that he didn't even mean to press, he just wanted to remind him. And then he gave an example in his post, how would such an email would look today. Hey, how you doing, Omer? I don't know if you remember, but last week we met. I think you said that you might have a report to provide to me, and I was wondering if you have the time. Again, same message. Report question mark. In Israel, hey, what about the report? In the US, you just need to kind of just lay it and just give some breathing air in the middle of your messages to make sure it comes out not as an aggressive message, but just in a productive message that just need to be a little bit tuned down, tamed down.
That's a precious statement. Thank you. Last question. Edge members have a network of other young professionals with similarities or different. How would you suggest them to utilize this network for their own benefit in order to promote their career?
I think that promoting yourself, and I think that creating a career path is no different than building a product. You are the product, and you need to understand, just as I talked about the problem, you need to understand what's in it for someone else to be interested in having a conversation or a connection with you. So again, one method, you're looking for a new thing, you're going to spray messages to everybody on your LinkedIn list and say, hey, I'm looking for a new job, and can you help me? You might get some, just like with spam, you do get some responses. Some of them are good, some of them are not. If you do want to make an impact, don't spam. Do something which is very focused. Look at what your connections do. Try to understand what they're missing, what would be important for them, and carve the right message to be casted at them in order to get like the right responses. Are you going to have 100% success rate? Probably not, but you're going to get a much higher success rate than I'm looking for a new job, help me, right? You need to be very focused and to understand how you can help someone. Maybe help someone not directly, but maybe help them provide help to someone else that looks for someone like them, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help each other. I think this is it's part of Israeliness, right? And this is actually using it for your benefit of yourself, which is perfectly fine. No one cares. If you help someone and you still benefit from it, thumbs up.
Thank you very much for this unique conversation.
With pleasure.
We really cherish your time.
With pleasure. Thank you for having me.